Thank you. Hope you enjoyed the coffee and the cookies outside. So we've got our last session of the day before our big networking reception upstairs in the Murphy Ballroom. Hopefully you'll stick around and join us for that as well. You know, every year as you look through the program, we have a variety of different sessions. Logistics is such a big industry that it requires a bunch of different panels for us to talk through and talk about different issues like manufacturing that we covered in the last session. But it's also very important every year we take a minute to recognize newly expanding and locating companies in our state. In traditional terms, this is called economic development, but we all see it closer to home through the jobs and opportunities that the companies that are up on stage create for our neighbors, for our families, and many of the other companies that have created jobs and investments for our state every year. So to lead that discussion and introduce our panel, I could think of no one better than our Georgia's Chief Economic Development Officer. So please help me welcome the Commissioner of the Department of Economic Development, Chris Carr, who will be moderating our session. Right here if you need me.
Thank you, Paige, and thanks to all of you for being here today. What a fantastic turnout, and we appreciate very much your time. I am absolutely thrilled to be moderating this panel on growth and expansion in Georgia. This session is an opportunity to hear from several key Georgia companies who have recently located or expanded in Georgia. So let me start off by saying thank you to our panelists. And combined, these companies that they are representing are investing more than $1.6 billion in Georgia and creating over 2,600 new jobs. So your contribution to Georgia, that's right, a round of applause. And please know that your contribution is impacting Georgia communities all around the state, and for that we are very grateful. So we're going to get to the panel, and the bios of each of our panelists are in your program. So let me encourage you to take a minute and read about them. But please join me in welcoming, and I'll go in order, and we'll give a round of applause at the end. But John Stephenson, site engineer from Starbucks. Sophia Sharp-Donaldson, Senior Director, Global Supply Chain for Baxter. James Hawk, Chairman, Toyo Tires. And Stu Thorn, President and CEO of Southwire. So please give them a round of applause. And what we're going to do in this session is each of the panelists are going to present first. Then we'll start with, then we'll have a chance to ask questions, and we'll start with audience questions. So from there, I will ask Sophia to come up, and she will present the first panel, the first presentation.
So good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for having me. I know we're standing in the way between you and drinks, so I'll speed it up a bit. I'm going to share a little bit about Baxter International, and we are a biopharmaceutical company headquartered in Deerfield, Illinois. And I have the pleasure of being part of a strategy team. And I'm not going to spend any time today talking about the economic feasibility of coming to Georgia. Those speak for themselves. Since this is a supply chain logistics conference, I'll spend more time talking about the logistics aspects. A little bit about Baxter. We are a global diversified healthcare company, and most of our claim to fame is about our innovative science and research and development. And we focus on specialty therapeutics and for critical need. So we focus on saving and sustaining lives. We don't have the typical pharmaceutical products. If our patients don't have our drugs, they don't live. So they are to sustain their lives. And we infuse, inhale, or inject our patients about 2 billion units of our products annually and about 6 million daily, just to give a perspective. Some of the products that I'll be talking about that we're going to manufacture here in Covington, Georgia, are the hemophilia products and the primary immune deficiency drugs. But we also make kidney disease products, biomedical products, and some others. A little bit more about Baxter. We're a $15 billion net sale company in revenue. Our sales for the unit that's coming to Covington is the bioscience or biologic division, and we're about 43% of those sales. The product that is particularly being made at the facility that'll start up in around 2017, 2018 is the primary immune deficiency drug, and it is made today in Europe. So we're making that product for the U.S. in Covington in 2017, 2018. And our research and development is near and dear to us, so we spent about $1.2 billion in that area, and then we have 60% of our sales outside of the U.S. In terms of the other unit that I'm not speaking to today, Med Products, we have over 15 facilities that make pharmaceutical drugs in the U.S. today. And on the bioscience side, we have a significant amount of those being made in California, which is where I'm based, as well as in Minnesota and Massachusetts and North Carolina. So it goes on and on. So it's no surprise to us that we selected Georgia for our next big production or manufacturing. So what is it about for us? It's really about our patients. We are going to introduce about 3 million liters of capacity here in Covington, which is almost doubling our capacity. Today, our patients, like the ones you're seeing on the screen, we, for one of our products, simply don't have enough capacity today to meet all the demand that we have. We're a market share leader in many of the areas, and so it's really important for us to have this facility be up and running as quickly as possible. The two products, again, that we'll focus on, that we'll manufacture here in Covington, Georgia, will be the primary immune deficiency drug, and it's also used for multifocal motor neuropathy. The other critical medicine that we'll be making here is called albumin, and it was discovered for World War I, and it is really about for trauma patients, whether they're burn, shock, or trauma in general. It's a volume replacer and a plasma expander. And so for us, these drugs, again, are life and death for our patients, and we'll be making both of those here in Georgia. If I can drive. So let's talk a little bit about Covington and the facility itself. We are going to take the best out of all of our facilities and make sure that they are functioning in this facility here in Covington. So it will be a state-of-the-art facility. It'll be about 160 plus acre site, and I have a photo of it later. We're investing over $1 billion in a 5-year period, and again, our goal is to have this facility up and qualified and running to make drugs as early as 2017, 2018. And we're planning on employing over 1,500 full-time employees, and then it will also create another 500 or so jobs around the U.S. because plasma is the main ingredient, if you will call it an ingredient, that goes into this, the making of these drugs, and we collect that from collection centers all over the United States, and we will be expanding the number of collection centers that we'll need to collect this 3 million extra fractionation paste, we call it, but protein that'll be coming out of the plasma. We also will be doing several manufacturing steps here in Georgia, and the way our network is set up today, we manufacture PID, the primary immune deficiency drug for GammaGuard. We do the finished packing in Belgium today. However, some of the paste comes out of the U.S., and it's shipped to Belgium. They do the purification. The fractionation's done in California. We do the fill finish in Belgium. And then we ship that product back into the U.S. and other places. Over 100 countries we ship and sell the GammaGuard today. So we'll do all of the steps here in Covington, which is an advantage. And we'll talk a little bit more about why that's an advantage from a supply chain perspective. But certainly having all of the manufacturing steps in one facility is certainly going to make our supply chain more efficient. Also, we'll be adding all of the high degree automation that we have in various degrees at various plants. We'll be adding electronic batch record documentation and so on here. So this will be a state-of-the-art facility for us and a showcase. It will be the combination of all the best that we have to offer at Baxter. So this is an aerial that I was sent. I did not have a chance to go and visit yesterday. I just flew in today for this session. But this is kind of the progress we've made. And I think we broke ground almost 2 years ago. So we've made some really good progress. We say the spine's in place. There's hundreds of employees that are employed right now, and we have began hiring, believe it or not, professionals for supply chain. So we have warehouse people, we have purchasing people on site because we need to qualify and validate various aspects of what's being built today and constructed. So why did we choose Georgia? Again, we'll not spend time on the economic feasibility of it because that speaks for itself. But 65% of our patient base is east of the Rockies. And so it makes sense for us to have chosen at least the manufacturing location that was in reach of our customer base. We're not like a typical biopharmaceutical company on the biologic side. Our products are high value, they're constrained, and they're needed pretty much to keep people alive. So we need a just-in-time and a relatively, because they're cold chain temperature controlled products as well, we need a network that allows us quite a bit of accessibility. So having the ocean, and that's the reason why we have 3 plants also on the West Coast. So we have one in Hayward, California, one in Thousand Oaks, California, and one in Los Angeles. But being close to the coast is good, is a good thing for us. Also having the Atlanta airport and some other major airports like the Miami airport to get our products to Latin America is also was enticing for us. And then the temperature-sensitive ground network that's located here. Quite honestly, when you look at the number of transportation companies in the area, it was conducive for us collecting our plasma, moving it, which is minus 20 Celsius, so moving these various stage cold chain ingredients and goods to this facility. The network just, it fit for what we needed to do. Also, we have some of our our largest key suppliers located here and in the area. So especially one of our vial companies. We learned that they are just a few miles away, actually. So we today source out of France for the Belgium facility, and they have a large vial manufacturer and some other key ones located right in the area. So for us, we look at total cost of ownership, and we also use consignment inventory and VMI. So we use consignment inventory for some of our customers who quite honestly prefer, as doctors and physicians, not to carry high-value products in their stock. So having that network nearby, and then for our suppliers, partnering with them with VMI also made sense for us. And then at the end of the day, we just look at the end-to-end supply chain model. So I'm responsible for procurement supplier management, I'm responsible for global logistics, and I'm also responsible for strategy and programs for the bioscience division. And when we looked at this location and what it could do for us in terms of reach to our customers, the cost efficiencies that we can gain, as well as just the overall relationships that we have with key suppliers in the area, it just made sense for us. So we're very, very excited to be coming to Georgia, my husband's home. And so at the end of the day, for us, it comes back to the patients. There's a lot of contributing factors why companies are outside of the United States. We have locations as well. But what I like about Baxter International is that we have invested in having manufacturing facilities in the U.S., and I think it's paid off. It's close to our patients. It means a lot to us. We're a U.S. company. We're based in Deerfield, Illinois. We're global, but we are U.S., and we take pride in being in Covington, Georgia. That's it.
Thank you, Sophia. We're going to hear next from John Stephenson with Starbucks.
Supply chain is made up of plan, source, make, and deliver. And everything you see in the store comes through our supply chain.
Starbucks is involved in the journey of the bean all the way from planting it in the coffee farm to brewing that perfect cup of coffee and delivering it to our customer.
I'm outrageously proud of the coffee that we make. You can't buy better coffee.
We are enabling that experience, that Starbucks experience to happen.
Here at Starbucks, we make a lot of coffee.
Planning in our supply chain involves planning everything from raw materials through manufacturing to our retail markets.
The coffee department sources the best coffee in the world for us to then roast and package.
Starbucks has one of the most unique distribution channels with the number of daily deliveries as well as the multiple temperature requirements. That's complexity.
Our job here is to make sure that every coffee we get, all of the products we buy, we manufacture, we distribute are ethically and environmentally responsible. Sustainability is about good business.
So Starbucks makes the coffee, but we also work with the manufacturers of the cups and the napkins.
Cocoa, tea.
The lunch, the dairy items.
Everything that you could possibly think of that's in a store.
Our delivery team makes it all happen.
Being creative, taking risks with new ideas is how you make your career.
What makes working at Starbucks so special to me is the sense of family and the passion for what we're doing. We're not making widgets. We're making the best coffee in the world.
All right, good afternoon. It's great to be here and share some time with you this afternoon and tell you a little bit about Starbucks coffee, and we'll talk about our new facility in Augusta, Georgia. Our mission is to inspire and nurture the human spirit one person, one cup, and one neighborhood at a time, and at the same time grow our company and make profits for our shareholders and make our customers happy. Tell you a little bit about the history of Starbucks. Many of you may know about it, but our first Starbucks opened in Pikes Place Market in Seattle, Washington, back in 1971. Now, in the early 80s, Howard Schultz, our current chairman, came to the company, and he took a trip to Italy, and that's where he learned about coffee culture and where he learned about lattes. And he came back and introduced that coffee shop concept to Starbucks, but the original owners did not want to pursue that, even though that was successful initially. So Howard went out and started his own company, and a few years later came back and bought Starbucks. And from that point on, Starbucks took off. So in 1992, the company went public. There were only 165 stores at that time. And now today, we've got 18,455 stores in 62 countries, and over 152,000 Starbucks partners running everything from supply chain to roasting to shipping to working in a store to making your favorite drink. Now, what is our blueprint for global growth? It really is a three-pronged approach, the first being direct emotional engagement, and we do that through Twitter, through Starbucks, through the Starbucks app. With a Starbucks app, you can walk into a store, you don't even have to take your wallet out, you can use that app to buy a drink in one of our stores. Of course, our retail footprint, we talked about 18,500 some odd stores. We have a presence there, and we're able to serve our customers in that location and offer a unique third place experience. And our CPG reach, so that's an area that we continue to grow in. Consumer products, those are the products that you see with the Starbucks brand on them that are on your local grocery store shelves, and we'll talk about those. Some of the brands that we've introduced recently, a couple years ago, Teavana, which was an Atlanta company, started here locally, became a part of Starbucks, and we'll be growing Teavana. A bakery in San Francisco produces a lot of our baked goods, and those baked goods started there, but they're served now in this part of the country and throughout the United States. Of course, Frappuccino, a lot of us have enjoyed a Frappuccino on a hot summer afternoon. Another area that we've gotten into are fresh juices. We've got a company in California called Evolution Fresh, makes some fantastic juice. It uses a cold pasteurization pressure process. Traditional heat pasteurization impacts flavor, and with this process, the juice tastes just like it's been freshly squeezed. And then, of course, Starbucks via Ready Brew, which we'll be producing in the Augusta, Georgia facility. That is a soluble coffee extract product, single serve, and then we'll be producing some additional products at the plant in Augusta, Georgia. So we're expanding our global presence through a lot of different product channels, and we're targeting different products in different countries, depending on where we are and what market we're appealing to. Tremendous amount of growth globally, particularly in China, but we continue to grow here in the U.S. Approximately 1,000 stores a year is our target for growth. A little bit of overview about supply chain, and we talk about shipping coffee from around the world, so we've got quite a volume of ocean-going cargo. Most of that shipping from Latin America, from Asia, and from Africa to our roasting plants in the U.S., and we have a roasting plant in Amsterdam. If you look at our North American logistics network, we've got over 50 nodes. Green coffee is brought in to the coast, so our roasting plants are located in the four corners of the U.S., that being near Kent, Washington, Nevada. We've got a plant in York, Pennsylvania, and our newest roast and ground facility in South Carolina, and then the soluble extract plant that we're currently building in Augusta, Georgia, that we'll talk about in just a moment. Now, if you look at the nodes, the shipping lanes between nodes, there's a tremendous amount of shipping that goes on in Starbucks to get all those products to our customers, to our retail stores, and through our grocery store customers. Now, our CDC network, our consolidated distribution, that's the most important piece of the supply chain to reach our end-use customers. About 81% of our company-operated stores receive fully consolidated deliveries, and we're shipping both ambient temperature, refrigerated, and frozen goods as well to those stores. And many of those stores receive daily shipments. So a tremendous effort to be able to get the products out to those customers. Now let's talk about Augusta, Georgia. It's great to be in Augusta, Georgia with our newest facility, but why did we choose Augusta? Well, we had a roast and ground facility in South Carolina, and we had land there near that facility, but what we didn't have enough was enough infrastructure, enough water and sewer capacity. So we started looking out in other areas, but we still wanted to stay close to the coast where we bring our green coffee in. So we looked at Augusta. That was one of our top locations outside of that original location in South Carolina. Financial incentives were important. Operating costs were important, but what was really important was the availability of technically trained people, schools, infrastructure, affordable electricity, affordable natural gas, sewer capacity, and water capacity, and then the great partnership with the local folks that work with us. Chris Carr and his team with Georgia Department of Economic Development, Walter Sprouse with the Augusta Economic Development Authority, the mayor of Augusta, all the local officials were great to work with and really helped us work through the many obstacles that you would face in putting a new plant in operation. Now let's talk about that facility. I'm really excited about it. It's the biggest capital investment in Starbucks history, $172 million. It's our first dedicated soluble coffee extraction facility, 180,000 square feet, and we plan to hire 140 partners to run this state-of-the-art facility. It's a very automated facility, very hands-off, very technical operation. We'll use a ton of water for the extraction process that will produce those products in that facility. And we're also producing quite a bit of spent grounds, which we're going to ship there within the park. There'll be a company called First Generation Energy that will process the spent grounds from our operation and be able to generate electricity through their anaerobic digestion process. So we're excited to be a part of that operation. Now, when we talk about soluble coffee, what are we talking about? Well, traditional coffee that we consume is called roast and ground coffee. The products that we'll produce at the plant in Augusta are soluble coffee. So we will essentially brew that coffee on an industrial scale and extract the essence from that brewed coffee and then produce powder. Some of the products that we'll produce will include the Via Ready Brew, which is a single-serve product. We'll produce the Frappuccino powders. We'll produce the coffee extract that goes in the Frappuccino bottle drinks as well. And then we'll do some additional packaging. We have a green coffee extract product that we'll produce and package there in the facility. And in early 2012, we made the announcement that we were moving to Augusta and broke ground in the summer of 2012. In August of last year, we moved into the facility, and by October, we were already packaging products. Now, we're still under construction, but we were able to ship in some soluble powder and package that product and save some cost in production and be able to ship those products domestically. Here's the overall site view of the facility. As I mentioned, we are still under construction on the west or the left side of the page that you see. The right side would be our front offices and our shipping area and packaging as well. So we're occupying the right side of that facility, and construction continues on the left side. And our schedule is to have construction completed this summer, and then we'll begin product qualifications and production later this year. I'm really proud to be a part of the Augusta Soluble Coffee team. We use ASCP, Always Safe Caring Partners. It's great to be in Georgia and great to be a part of your state, and great to be here in Atlanta. And look forward to answering your questions a little bit later. Thank you.
Thank you, John, very much. We appreciate it. Next, we will hear from Jim Hawk, Chairman of Toyo Tires.
Okay, thank you for this opportunity. I represent Toyo Tire, Japanese manufacturing company, and we established a new manufacturing company here outside of White, Georgia in 2004. Pretty big project. It was planned out over time. We are part of a very large company. Toyo Tire is a $4 billion and rapidly growing annual sales company. We produce right now about 40 million tires a year. Here in Georgia, currently about 5 and targeting to go to 8 within the next 4 years. It's a lot of tires. So we frankly specialize in niche market products, passenger high performance, sport utility vehicle, light truck. Toyo Tire was the leader in the industry. You see a lot of sport utility vehicles now that have these large diameter wheels, 20, 22, 24-inch. Toyo was actually the pioneer years ago that actually took the market in that direction. Here in Georgia, we established a business in 2004. It's a Georgia-based manufacturing company. Currently, we have about 1,000 employees. We're undergoing a major expansion right now. That'll add about another 400 employees. Current investment is about $570 million, and within the next 3 years, we'll be at nearly $1 billion investment. And as you can see, the future versus the current. So 8.8 million tires a year within 4 years is our target. The only key point of this chart is we're totally self-sufficient. We do not make an ingredient or so on. We take raw materials, we process it entirely, we make a finished consumer product, and we warehouse it on site. So we're totally self-sufficient, including research and development, testing facilities to produce this large quantity of tires. Very technically complex product. It's a lot more complicated than just squirting rubber into a mold. There's a lot of reinforcements such as wired textiles, rubber chemicals, natural synthetic rubbers, and so on. And then there's many, many different physical properties of rubber in these tires, whether it's a sidewall tread, which contacts the road, and so on. Okay, so in 2003, we decided to launch the first manufacturing plant in North America in Georgia. There was pretty significant site search going on. Previously, all the products came from Asia, from China and Japan. through Long Beach, California. And we started out as kind of a niche niche market, West Coast product. So it was time to reach to our customers in the Midwest and Eastern United States. Actually, I think I have the wrong presentation here, but that's okay. Greenfield site was chosen in White, Georgia, because we needed access for rail, highways. We needed ports. So what started out as a huge economic development project turns into a logistics product, because we've got to get raw materials in from around the world, and logistically we've got to get our finished products out to the market. So chose a nice, fairly large greenfield site with rail access at the top. So we do receive products by rail. So the groundbreaking started in 2004, and very quickly, within 1 year, we manufactured our first tire, and within 2 years, we finished our first phase of expansion, like so, and then we continued to grow. So by right in the middle of the Lehman shock, we announced the expansion. Good timing. But we went ahead and we doubled the size of our factory. So it's a good thing. So we now have 2 million square feet under roof and 1,000 employees. This is kind of timeline of our growth over time. The numbers are units per year. So we make everything from tires this big to tires that go on all these jacked up pickup trucks that you see everywhere. The style has changed. You know, when I say niche market, it's not just round and black anymore. I mean, if you have high performance tires, yeah, you got to have 19 and 20 inch with those special wheels. If you want these jacked up trucks, you know, you've got to have these big, knobby, real stylish, 20, 22 inch tires. And the same with SUVs, you see them all the time in Buckhead, Escalades, Navigators with these nice shiny 22 inch wheels. Great products, but they're technically very complex, and it becomes part of the style of the vehicle. We recently announced our next phase of expansion, so we're going to grow our plant from 2 million square feet to 3 million. We're going to invest another $350 million within the next 4 years. We're going to hire another 400 employees, take our employment up to about 1,400. Inside of all this, it's not obvious, but there's hundreds of millions of dollars worth of manufacturing equipment. So we'll have nearly $1 billion investment and a real shot in the arm for North Georgia, and especially Bartow County. Our manufacturing locations around the world, of course, I mentioned our factory in Georgia. We have existing facilities in Sendai and Kawana, Japan, manufacturing passenger and truck bus tires. Here in Georgia, we do not manufacture truck bus tires. That's for buses and over-the-road semis. We recently developed 2 new operations in Malaysia. This is to feed Indochina market and Australia. And then we have 2 manufacturing plants, let me back up, in China, one for passenger tires and one for truck tires. We manufacture currently 5 million tires a year, going to 8. This is only for North America. We import about 10 million tires a year for the rest of Canada, US. All comes from Asia, comes through Long Beach, California. So you can get appreciation that logistics is a big deal for us. So having finished the expansions and having an ongoing operation, we got to get all this raw materials in, and we got to get our products out. So that's where, for our manufacturing plant in Georgia, it's real key, because we use products from Asia, from Korea, from Thailand, Indonesia, Malaysia. All comes by container, all comes by ship. So the Port of Savannah is a real key for us. Those raw materials come in, we process it, then we have to have tires going out. This didn't come out exactly like I wanted, but we have 3 major distribution hubs in the U.S. We used to have 7 or 8, and they were kind of fragmented, didn't really work, so we went to what we call a home warehouse concept. We have 3 major warehouse facilities, one in Ontario, California, for all the products coming in from Asia, one in here attached to the factory for the manufactured products here, and one in Nashville, Tennessee. So for our supplier customer base, this kind of works for us. So we eliminated a lot of inefficient, smaller warehouses. So it's a matter of getting the right locations over time and getting the products out as our supplier base changes. So this currently works very well for us. Also significant, being close to Savannah, Georgia, was most of the process and equipment we design and develop and build ourselves. And most of it was built in Japan. Very, very proprietary process, proprietary equipment. It all had to be created and shipped here and unloaded. So the Port of Savannah was a huge key in that, and continuing for our latest expansion. So we're really proud to have gone from a nice pasture in White, Georgia, to eventually something like this, and have created about 14 to 1,500 really solid manufacturing jobs. The decision to locate in Georgia was absolutely correct. We did look at other states in the Southeast, and it wasn't all about economic incentives. It wasn't all about money. Logistics played the biggest part of this, getting the materials in and getting the finished goods out, being in the right place. So the interstate highways and the rail access and the port and the airport were essential for us. The cooperation with the state of Georgia was excellent. Business-friendly environment. They've always stepped up. State of Georgia, Bartow County Joint Development Authority. So helped us develop a nice site, helped us continue to grow and expand. The economics here are good. You know, the utilities are very reliable. Georgia Power, can't say enough. They do an excellent job for us. But one of the biggest decision factors and ongoing for us is Georgia Quick Start. It's a entity that exists in Georgia through the adult education system, and they do most of our training for us. Been amazing. You know, we can focus our resources on building factories and running our equipment and training our people on the technical aspects of the job. The basic training, developing manuals, developing videos has all been done by Georgia Quick Start. It's an absolutely wonderful resource and they have never, ever left our facility since '04. And I can't say enough about them and the continuing support from the state of Georgia. So again, you know, kind of a boring economic development story. Yeah, big project, $1 billion project, lots of jobs, but major logistics challenges now that we're making lots of products, and Georgia seems to be the right fit with the right roads, highways, airports, ports. Works very well for us. Thank you for hearing my story.
Thank you, Jim. Appreciate that very much. Next, we'll hear from Stu Thorn, President and CEO of Southwire. The logistics. Got it. There we go. Thank you, sir.
All right. Good afternoon. Jim, you're definitely on a roll. John, we got to wake up to smell the coffee. And Sophia, I can't think of anything funny to say about plasma. So. But anyway, thanks for the opportunity to share with you Southwire's view on why Georgia is such an attractive place for businesses to seek to grow. As you well know, the state's transportation infrastructure, as well as its access to abundant supply of affordable energy, its strong workforce development initiatives, and other factors continually land Georgia among the top 5 best states to do business in. In fact, Site Selection Magazine named Georgia top among all 50 states in terms of business climate last year. Everyone in this room can take pride in knowing that logistics specifically ranked among the state's top strengths in attracting new and expanded business. One can reach about 80% of the United States market from Georgia within a 2-day truck ride or a 2-hour plane flight out of Atlanta Hartsfield-Jackson International Airport. Our state enjoys the most extensive rail network in the Southeast, a well-developed road system with 5 major interstates, the busiest airport in the world, and the Port of Savannah, which will become even more vital with the harbor's deepening that will allow it to accommodate even larger cargo ships. Our state provides a wealth of opportunities for businesses looking to grow, and Southwire has been a major benefactor of those opportunities since we founded our business in 1950. Last year, Governor Nathan Deal highlighted our company's investment of $95 million in new facilities in Carroll County that will create some 375 new jobs. Included in that investment is the purchase of the former Sony cassette tape and CD factory in Carrollton, which adds about 635,000 square feet of manufacturing space. We also opened a new substation control cable factory in Villa Rica. We added new medium voltage cable production lines at our main Carrollton facility and opened a new headquarters for our industrial division on the city's downtown square. The addition of 1 million square feet of manufacturing space last year comes on the heels of an $18.5 million expansion through the opening of a second Southwire manufacturing facility in Douglas, Georgia in 2012, which added about 65 jobs in a town that was hard hit by plant closings in recent years. So as you can see, Southwire is poised for growth, and we're excited that we can do so in our home state of Georgia. However, with that growth comes the need for a trained workforce. And so we've been working hard to partner with state educational resources to develop our labor pool. With a win-win mindset, we've been successful developing these partnerships at 4 levels. First, let me speak about the college level. We need future executives who understand what's required to achieve long-term success, since our family shareholders have their sights set on the next generation, not just the next quarterly earnings report. To help train those future leaders, Southwire Company and the University of West Georgia, specifically their Richards College of Business, unveiled last year the Southwire Sustainable Business Honors Program. Funded by a $1.1 million gift from Southwire, the program allows students to complete undergraduate business studies and earn an MBA, all in 4 years. Students enrolled in the Southwire Sustainable Business Honors Program meet the university's requirement for general education, including global perspectives and critical thinking. They complete requirements for both bachelor's and master's degrees in business administration, and most importantly to us at Southwire, they engage in classroom and extracurricular activities focused on sustainable business development, ethics, and corporate responsibility. Throughout the program, students take part in real-world experiences at Southwire, such as internships in their major fields of study and working with the company's Project Gift, which is where our employees volunteer to do good things in the community under the banner of Giving Inspiration for Tomorrow. Okay, so now let me speak about the second area we're focused on, and that's technical education. There we gave $1 million to West Georgia Technical College to create the Southwire Center for Manufacturing Excellence, which allows students to gain the skills needed for manufacturing, electrician, and maintenance jobs. Through online coursework, instructor-led courses, and on-the-job assignments, students receive the very best training in these areas. And though the certification program is customized to Southwire's particular needs, it's open to anyone in the community who wants to develop their manufacturing expertise. Moving on to the high school level, we have 2 important partnerships there as well. First, we created the Southwire Engineering Academy, aimed at scholastically gifted students who are interested in engineering careers. Now in its 3rd year, we provide select Carrollton High School juniors and seniors with hands-on experience by allowing them to work alongside Southwire engineers and see how science, technology, engineering, and math skills are leveraged in a real-life manufacturing environment. And as they work, they help us come up with ideas on how to make more money. So this is yet another win-win educational partnership, and in fact, was a finalist at last year's Technology Association of Georgia Awards. The second high school partnership we've developed is especially meaningful. It's focused on one of the most limiting factors impacting our available workforce, the high school dropout rate. 7 years ago, 1 in 3 students in Carroll County did not complete high school, substantially limiting their employment prospects, especially at Southwire, since we only hire applicants who have high school degrees. In this case, we partnered with the Carroll County schools to create 12 for Life. I could talk for hours about the win-win aspects of this sustainably profitable program and its positive impacts on the lives of students, but I think you'll get a better picture of 12 for Life through a video produced by our corporate communications department. Which one do I'll let you click it up.
So years of school you go through, that's the moment that you wait for, is your graduation.
D'Angelo Celeste Brown.
Since you're in kindergarten, I guess you could say that's all you hear about is graduating.
There's nothing like the feeling of graduating and being proud of yourself for all the hard work you've done.
I don't think that I truly accepted it until after it was over and I had my cap and gown off and I just sat down on the couch and I was like, wow, and I held it in my hand, the diploma had my name on it.
It was just that, that feeling of just, you made it.
I have it on the table and it's something that I actually look at every day and just, it's wonderful. I look back on that night and it is one of the most treasured moments in my life.
That was like the best feeling, because I never thought I was gonna get that far.
Over the last decade, over 400,000 10th through 12th grade students dropped out of high school. Approximately 1 child out of 8 in the United States never graduates. 1 high school student drops out every 9 seconds. Southwire is making a difference. Since the inception of 12 for Life, Southwire has been actively reversing the dropout trend in Carroll County high schools, 1 student at a time.
My father passed away whenever I was in 7th grade and my mom lost custody of me whenever I was 16. So I've been living on my own since I was 17.
My mom is a single parent.
Make sure Rolando gets his medicine. I got it all laid out for you.
I am the oldest. Come on, get up. So me and my mom bring in most of the income. All I have is them. If I can't help them, what would I do?
My dad had ended up going to prison for 2 years, and my brother had gotten really bad on drug use and stuff, so my mom, she's sick with Crohn's disease, and they had said she had other problems too.
I had moved out with my dad. Classes started to fall, grades went down, and then I was trying to balance sports as far as when everything else was going on.
High school dropouts are at risk for negative outcomes, like becoming a teen parent or spending time in prison. Teens who do not graduate high school are also at a greater risk of being unemployed and homeless as adults.
I fathered a child in my junior year of high school, working 40 hours a week in a restaurant. It was long hours, little pay, and I felt that my life was virtually non-existent. Work, sleep, that's all it was.
There was just so much going on that school wasn't my first priority.
There was a point where I didn't think I was going to graduate.
Sometimes, you get what you bargain for, but that gives you the push to do more.
12 for Life is working for students like Matthew, Navinity, Kayla, and D'Angelo. 12 for Life students get paid for working at a Southwire facility created just for them, while earning course credit towards their high school degree.
You get credits and you get paid, so it's like that's a 2-in-1 deal, so I went for it.
I'll have a job and I'll still be in school. I'll be able to graduate.
I got in the 12 for Life program. They didn't give up on me.
After I got there, it was so much more than just having the class and working there.
After I got to 12 for Life, I actually had the energy. I became the kid again that sits at the front of the class and has all the answers and has everything on time and talks to the teacher after class.
In addition to manufacturing operations, the 12 for Life facility is a safe haven where kids can get all the help they need to complete their educations. Southwire employees mentor students, ensuring they get the work and life skills that are key to their success. Since the program's inception, 635 12 for Life students have graduated from high school. More than 40% of those have gone on to pursue post-secondary education.
I've met a lot of new people, people who I can tell my story to and who have a story to tell too.
There's at least one person there who's been where you've been. We're all there for a reason. We all want it, you know, and you just get close to everybody.
You always have people to pick you up when you're down, so you know, it was nice.
You know, if you ask me who I was closest to, it would definitely be the supervisors, because I've been through so much and I can communicate more with adults than I can with people my own age, and they were always there.
Supervisors, love my supervisors.
They can't do much but listen, but it's nice to have somebody there when you don't feel like you can talk to anybody else. 12
for Life changes and improves the quality of life in the community through education.
Here tonight, that dream is becoming a reality for us. I was thinking back to what I was, you know, what had become, and I was proud of myself. It felt good.
I've gone from having no standards to having unlimited expectations of myself because of 12 for Life.
I did that. I can say I did that.
12 for Life only motivated me to, you know, work harder, you know, complete graduating and completing going to college.
I made it out of high school. I feel like maybe I can do it in college too.
I can say I'm a better person now.
I hope it continues to do what it has done for me with hundreds of other kids coming up. I look at the 12 for Life symbol and I see charity and I see hope. I see a future that wasn't there before.
It was definitely life-changing, and I'm proud of it.
Be proud and get involved. Provide hope for your community by improving graduation rates and impact the long-term growth of your community. Contact us today. 12forlife.com.
All right, so I hope that provides you. Thank you. Thank you. I hope that provides you with a glimpse into 12 for Life and how it works. Since the program started 7 years ago, 645 students have graduated from 12 for Life, and therefore high school, who probably would not have otherwise graduated from high school at all. Nearly half of those have gone on to post-secondary education, while others have entered the military, and most importantly for us, many have gone on to work in manufacturing jobs, including especially at Southwire. The White House and other national leaders have recognized 12 for Life as a model for reducing the dropout rate, and the Georgia Department of Community Affairs used it as a model for part of its Great Promise Partnership. Now a standalone program under the authority of the governor, Great Promise Partnership is growing with an ultimate goal of linking school systems and businesses in all 159 Georgia counties. And I'm honored to serve as chairman of the program's board of directors. And if any of you would like to put in a 12 for Life at your new facilities, we'd be glad to help, free of charge. Anyway, that's a quick look at Southwire's commitment to growth in our business-friendly home state of Georgia, and a look at our efforts to build a stronger labor pool through the workforce development educational partnerships that I described. I'll be happy to answer any questions you have as we move on to the Q&A portion here. Thank you very much.
Thanks again to our panelists, and I want to thank you first for telling your story, but I also want to thank you for telling our story in Georgia about why Georgia. And it's one thing, I think, if the department says it or the state says it, it's an entirely different thing when you all say it. And the testimonial really does matter, and we greatly appreciate it. And before we get to the Q&A, I'll just say we're fortunate in Georgia to have a lot of strengths when it comes to growth and expansion and economic development, and these companies talked about a number of them: a pro-business environment, strategic location, logistically, the strength of our workforce, particularly our nationally recognized Quick Start, and I think you're going to hear more and more about the state's dedication to workforce development through the governor's high demand career initiative that will be coming forward. But the thing I think that we're most proud of is the partnerships, and you've all mentioned in some form or fashion. Sophia mentioned Baxter and the project they have, and they're also working with Quick Start. Starbucks talked about the great local partnerships with the local development authority. Toyo Tires and Jim talked about the partnership with Bartow County and Cartersville and Quick Start and what they're doing. And then, of course, Southwire, the great things that you're doing with 12 for Life, the University of West Georgia partnership, and the West Georgia Tech. And that's something that makes us particularly proud. We hear oftentimes the strength and success in economic development comes through those partnerships, and we greatly appreciate that, and we take great pride in it. So thank you very, very much for that. So now we'll go to the question portion of the program. We have microphones set up along the way into the back. If you'll just raise your hand, we've got some folks that can bring you those microphones. If you don't ask any questions, I did work for Senator Isaacson. I can filibuster for the next 30 minutes, but I'd much rather have you ask questions. That will be much more interesting.
For Baxter, I was wondering if having the CDC in Atlanta had any benefit or if it's just conveniently located.
It was one factor, but there were so many factors that went into the decision itself, but we certainly took that into consideration as well.
Great, thank you. A hand up over here on the left, on my left.
Several of you talked about the low cost of energy is a key factor in locating in Georgia. And for those of you doing shipping and trucking, are any of you using natural gas or alternative fuels in your shipments?
We're using, of course, natural gas. We're using propane on our forklifts in our factories. And our whole company car fleet is either diesel or hybrid. But not in terms of our actual trucking, we don't have those options really available to us.
Same here. We use a lot of over-the-road trucking, and unfortunately, that's all diesel now. Much more efficient diesel engines. But our facility, we use natural gas. So we do not burn oil, coal. We're a low pollutant emitter, almost nothing. So yeah, we do pay attention to that. All of our internal lift trucks and so on are all electric, battery charged.
And Baxter's, of course, not here yet, but just in general, we look at green for a lot of our air movement, and so the emissions, and so we do look and map out our flow of product and who we use for air shipments.
And for Starbucks, our forklifts are electric. We use quite a bit of natural gas, or will be using, for our steam boilers for our process. And for our spent grounds, we're going to ship those within the park. I had mentioned the partnership that we'll have with an anaerobic digestion facility, and they'll be able to digest those spent grounds, produce waste heat, and then generate electricity from that waste product.
There's a question here. What do you do with your wastewater?
What do we do with our wastewater? Augusta Utilities will take that.
In addition to this lady's question over here, do any of you all require SmartWay partners as your carriers?
What's the question?
Your
SmartWay, yes, we do.
Your carrier partnerships, do you require them to be SmartWay certified?
Yeah, we do. At Southwire. I know that because I got a guy who works for me here who knew the answer to the question. Otherwise, I wouldn't have had a clue. Okay, so we're at 65% now, and we have got a goal to get to 80%. So.
Yeah, in our case, not here in Georgia yet, but California, obviously. We have substantial warehouse, and we import, my God, like 10,000 containers a year from Asia through Long Beach, California. So you have to be SmartWay certified in California now. So certainly we do encourage that, and it's coming to this part of the country.
Sir, you just made ESPN's top 10 plays for that assist, just so you know. Great job. Next question.
Yeah, I want to give this to Chris Carr as Economic Development Commissioner here. I grew up in South Georgia, Albany, Georgia, okay, and I've been away from there for 50 years. And I live up in the Atlanta area now, but in my trips to South Georgia, I noticed many of the bridges on the surface roads were still made in 1950, okay? And I'm looking at the trucks that go up and down the interstates, and I don't think those trucks will ever make it into some of the surface roads in Georgia, okay, to some of the smaller towns. And I have a friend in Moultrie, okay, and he lives down there, and he recognizes the same problem. He says South Georgia and I guess rural North Georgia can't develop until we get highways that will support the 40 and 50-foot trailers with a lot of weight. Is there any plan to, and I think we have a highway from Albany to Columbus that's good, and we have a highway from maybe Cordele to Albany that's good, okay, but everything else east-west below Macon and some places in North Georgia, you can't get the big tractor trailers over. Is this on the economic development of the highway system in Georgia in the next 10 years?
Well, I appreciate the question. I think I'm interested in it because I think one of the strengths of the state of Georgia is actually the transportation system and the logistic network that we have. Fortunately, because Paige has such great foresight, my brother Toby Carr, who is the state transportation planning director, will actually be here tomorrow morning, which would be a great question for him. However, that's the second top 10 play right there. However, I honestly will contend that our road system is fantastic. And yes, the plan, there is a plan out there, and they'll talk a little bit more about that, and I appreciate the comment, but I actually see transportation as a strength all around the state, and the way that we have done that, it actually would be. But I appreciate very much the question, and I'm prepping my brother for tomorrow. Next question. If not, I've got one, actually, because each one of our panelists up here are either involved in an expansion or a project right now or have been recently. What advice would you provide to a company planning to locate or expand in Georgia right now? And what are some of the factors that you would consider that might get overlooked, generally speaking?
Yeah, you had mentioned Quick Start, Chris. We're definitely taking advantage of Quick Start. I think that with us building a new plant in a highly automated facility, it's very important that we take advantage of that for our training. But also the partnership with Augusta Tech, with the technical schools, they actually worked with us during the interview process. So we were able to take candidates into the lab at Augusta Tech and have them demonstrate to us hands-on with their equipment, with their labs, with some of their automation. So we took advantage of that. So I think that's one thing to look at. You know, we had mentioned a lot of times you just look at the bottom line and look at the numbers, but looking at the workforce capabilities, looking at how you're going to train these people, particularly in our case if you're building a highly automated facility.
And I would echo, I think when you talk about skill sets, especially in the pharmaceutical arena, Georgia may not be the first state that comes to mind from an engineering science background. So for us, it was exploring deeper, meeting with the universities, understanding the programs that are here, and we realized there was quite a bit of talent, and there's quite a few engineering specific, even if it's not specific to Georgia, but even the surrounding universities that can pull into the metropolitan area. So I think for us, it was a pleasant surprise not to go to the Triangle and some of the typical places that pharmaceuticals look for talent.
Yeah, this site selection becomes kind of a game or posturing. And in our case, being a large regional manufacturer, we wanted some presence in the Southeast U.S. Okay, so what does that mean? Louisiana, does that make sense for us? Absolutely not. So it's, first and foremost, it's all about location. But then some companies make a game out of that, make a bidding contest between the states, and for us, it wasn't all about that. It's about having fair incentives that are fair to the community, fair to the state, fair to us. But then what do we get out of it? And that's why I mentioned Georgia Quick Start. You know, the incentives that we received were not as good as other states, but it didn't matter. They were fair. But then in the case of Georgia Quick Start, they actually trained our people. I didn't have the time or the staff or the money to do the training ourselves. We would have easily delayed our project a year if we had to develop a training staff and train all those people up front, whereas Georgia Quick Start stepped in, did the materials. They actually sent people to Japan, translated materials from Japanese to English, and helped us with that project, and easily saved us 6 months to a year in our startup schedule. And then I didn't want the money. Yeah, a lot of states now, they give you a grant, so much brick and mortar, so many jobs, okay, we'll give you so many dollars per job. I did not want the money. It's too much of a temptation. I needed the resource. And that's where Georgia Quick Start was invaluable. So I would encourage any new businesses, you know, don't make this game out of it. You know, decide where you want to be, and then make your negotiation for fair incentives, but keep Georgia Quick Start in mind. Excellent organization.
I'll take the money. But, my biggest advice would be pick up the phone. Pick up the phone. Georgia is an incredibly pro-business state, and all of the public entities in Georgia are dying to help local businesses be successful. And if you pick up the phone and you call the local school system, the local superintendent, the local university president, if you call your government officials, different agencies around the state, legislators, they're all just so eager to help, but they just don't know where to help and how to help until you call them up and ask for that help. But when you do, it's amazing the power that exists within this state to help your business be successful. So pick up the phone would be my biggest advice.
Great, thank you. Other questions? Yes, sir. Well, let's wait let's see if we get a microphone here real quick, just so everybody can hear.
On the transportation side, outside of Baxter, because I'm pretty sure you guys outsource everything, the other three, how much is in-house and how much is outsourced for your transportation?
In our case, everything's outsourced, essentially. We move some stuff around town between factories using our own trucks, but otherwise, pretty much everything's outsourced in terms of freight.
Yeah, in our case, everything incoming, we have a receiving department, and we handle that ourselves. As far as managing our distribution center, it's outsourced, but very, very closely managed. We have a mix of that. Those 3 locations I showed you, 2 are run in-house by our own employees, and the one here in Georgia was outsourced. It was just made more sense to do that. We focus our resources on making products, hire logistics, a 3PL to do it right and manage that warehouse right.
I should clarify, when I say it's outsourced, I meant freight. We run our own distribution centers. We have 15 around the country that we run.
And I'm going to surprise you because we're biologics, so it's a little bit different than a regular med pharma type environment. So we have a mixture in the U.S. We have 2 vertical operations where 2 manufacturing facilities actually do the distribution to end customers, and then we have 1 3PL that does the balance of that. So we're about 60-40 in the U.S. And then around the world, it's a mixture because in certain countries, it makes more sense for us to have our own distribution. So we're a combination. But transportation is all outsourced except for, to Stu's point, if we're moving between plants, we use our own local drivers, but to go to a customer or to a supplier or someone, it's outsourced.
Our distribution centers are a mix, and transportation is outsourced.
One kind of interesting thing we've done is taken our distribution centers and turned them into mini factories. So we do a lot of customization of the product before it goes out to the job site, so that those operations don't need to be performed at the job site, such as putting pulling heads on our products or cutting and paralleling our products into separate reels, so that when it goes to the job site, it can be pulled right into the application. So by sort of putting manufacturing operations in the distribution network, we've been able to add value and gain competitive advantage.
Great, one more question. One right up here.
Hi, how are you doing? The question I had to ask for Stu, I was wondering, you were talking about, I guess, leaders and building the next generation.
Right.
But what made you choose Carroll County and West Georgia, and are you going to expand from there?
Yeah, the reason we're pursuing these educational partnerships in Carroll County and West Georgia, the question is, are we pursuing, why did we choose West Georgia or Carroll County, and are we expanding from there? The reason we've focused on Carroll County is that's our home base, and that's where our headquarters is, and that's where our biggest single factories are. However, we do have factories all around the state and the country, and we've actually taken 12 for Life and already expanded it outside of Carroll County into a facility in Florence, Alabama, which also has the economy scale, has the size to accommodate that kind of approach, and it's been incredibly successful there. Whereas we have a couple of hundred students at any given time in the 12 for Life in Carrollton, we have about 75 at any given time in the one in Florence, but it still is very successful. It makes us money, it's developing our labor force, and it's helping kids graduate. And so, yes, we've been taking these ideas of partnership and extending them beyond just Carroll County where it makes sense.
Great, and again, let's a round of applause for our panelists, please. Thank you so much. We're so proud to have you as corporate citizens in Georgia. Thank you for your investment and your commitment. We can't thank you enough. Thank you all for coming to this presentation. Paige, do you have anything you want to wrap it up? Okay.
First of all, again, my thanks for being here today, for all of our panelists and to our commissioner for joining us. Fabulous job, one of the best sessions of the day. Just a couple quick housekeeping notes. We have, as you probably heard, we have a little cocktail reception upstairs for everyone. The doors will open in about 10 minutes. It's up in that top floor, the Thomas Murphy Ballroom. That's where we'll be tomorrow morning as well at around 7:30. Getting ready for breakfast and kicking off at 8. So when you checked in and got registered, you got 2 drink tickets. Those will be good for 2 drinks. From there, it turns into a cash bar. But remember, you got to be here at 7:30 tomorrow morning, so can't have too many. But anyway, enjoy the reception. One at last moment, we had somebody leave an iPad in a chair up here. If you hear somebody looking for an iPad, just let us know. It's up at the registration desk. Thanks again. We'll see you in a few minutes.